Hello everyone, today we are going to cook tin fish curry. As a South African, we were raised eating tin fish curry and it is very delicious. There are a lot of variations of how this curry is cooked, but I'll just show you the basic one with a little bit of twist, and there are things that are really optional. This is also an ideal dish for students who are always busy. They don't want to stand in the kitchen for hours and hours cooking. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to finish the whole dish. For this dish, I've used 1 medium onion and also 1 medium tomatoes. And also I used, I'll say, a quarter of green pepper. If you have yellow pepper or red pepper and you want to add it in your dish, you can do so. So the next step was to take the fish from the can, and I cleaned it. So you have to just open it and remove all the gunk that is inside, including the bones. It is still a debate because really I am 62 years. I used to cook it without cleaning it, and I'm still alive. But for the sake of this video, so that people don't come at me, I have to remove the bones. So all of those bones were removed. Any gunk that was inside that fish was removed, and I left it open. So for cooking, I just prepared my gas stove and made the heat to be moderate, not too high, because you don't want to burn your spices and onions. And of course, I added 2 spoonfuls of oil, cooking oil of your choice. And I didn't like to put more because the fish itself, the sauce from the fish, is very, very oily. When the oil was hot enough, then I added my onions and green pepper. That was also followed by a teaspoon of garlic. The garlic that I used was crushed. So the reason I don't want to start with garlic, because sometimes it will stick on the pan. So I always start with onions and then put the garlic later. I also added 2 spoonfuls of Worcestershire sauce. I know that some of us cannot pronounce it, but that's what it is. Just cook the onions, the garlic and the peppers for a couple of minutes. I would say 3 to 5 minutes until the onions are translucent before you proceed. When the onions and the garlic and peppers were well cooked, then I added chopped tomatoes. So cook your tomatoes until it is well, nice and soft before you add your spices. The spices that I've added for this dish, I just use our mixed masala. You can also add chili powder if you have, but here I've just only added mixed masala and I also added chili flakes. I didn't want to make this dish too complicated with 10 spices. For the sake of measurements, for those that would like to do this, for the mixed masala, I would say that I've used 1.5 teaspoons, and for the chili flakes, I use also 1 teaspoon because I didn't want to make it too spicy. I also added a spoonful of tomato paste. This is optional. You can also use just tomato sauce. That's why I said that there are many variations of making this dish. Remember that tomato sauce and tomatoes can be too acidic, so I will add something later that is going to kill the acidity of tomatoes. So you can see here I'm showing you the tomato sauce. So this is another option if you, especially if you don't also have a tomato paste, you can just use your ordinary tomato sauce. Just put 1 spoon. Remember, we are building flavors with this dish with the common ingredients that we all have in our homes. But if you don't have, you don't have to be stressed. Use what you have. If you have tomatoes, you use your tomatoes. You can blend it, you can chop it, but it will also make a good curry. I also added a half cube of beef stock just for taste. I didn't want to add a lot of salt. As you can see here, so the paste is now well combined and it is well cooked. So now I will be adding like 2 spoons of peri-peri sauce, which is mild from Nando's. If you have a hot one, if you like spicy food, you can add that one, but mine is mild. That's why before I added chili flakes. It's really nice to have that fish curry with a kick. Now you can also see that I'm adding the fish itself. And the thing that I've done here is to make sure that you don't crush the fish to look like it's just a soup. So you don't break the fish itself. So because it's very delicate, so I have to stir it gently. without breaking the fish. The last ingredient I added was the sweet chili sauce. So the reason of adding the sweet chili sauce is to counteract the acidity of the tomatoes. Remember that we have tomato sauce, we have tomato paste and tomatoes there. Sometimes it can be too acidic. So, but if you don't have sweet chili paste sauce, you can just add half a teaspoon of white sugar. Guys, I will say that at the end of the day, this curry was so delicious. It was really nice and spicy, and with the spices that were not overwhelming, it had a good kick. And I had to plate it for my husband. I wanted it to make as if it was a 5-star restaurant, but it was great. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, share, and comment. The last thing I added was the spoonful of sweet chili sauce. The reason for adding the sweet chili sauce is to counteract the acidity of the tomatoes. If you don't have, you can just use like a half a teaspoon of sugar.